Are we hearing about Amendment 25 again? I almost want to go back to sleep just for that. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is another Declaration of Truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. Here we go again. It's been, 65 weeks, give or take one. And here we are hearing people talking about invoking Amendment 25 against President Biden. Now, to be sure, Biden has given just cause to wonder about his mental health, quite apart from rambling speeches full of mistakes or lies. Hundreds of millions of people have seen him wander off, heard him lose track of what he was trying to say, and give many other signs that in anyone else most people would pass off as he's just getting old. The problem, of course, is that if the President of the United States is getting old, he shouldn't serve anymore. But those we hear talking about stripping him of the powers and duties of an office are all blowing smoke. They knew what they were getting when they ran him in 2020, and they are anything but sincere. I suppose we have to talk about it again. But first, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views. Link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of good merchandise there, including this t-shirt that I have chosen for today, which depicts and quotes Plato as saying, "No one is more hated than he who speaks the truth." One more thing. If you like what you're about to hear, you can like this video. You can also click the bell icon to get a notice every time I come out with a new one. In fact, do you see the new icon, the heart shape with a US dollar sign in it? That's the super thanks icon. If you really want to keep these videos coming, click that and leave me a tip. Any currency will do, so long as it's legal tender. Now, last year on my site, Conservative News and Views, I laid out everything you needed to know about Amendment 25 and how it works. Briefly, it has 4 sections, each covering a different scenario involving presidential succession or inability. Section 1 says that the vice president becomes president if the president loses his office through impeachment, or he dies, or he resigns. Per Section 2, if the vice presidency falls vacant, the president nominates a vice president. Unlike any other presidential appointee, a vice presidential nominee needs confirmation from both chambers of Congress. Presidents can use and have used Section 3 to transfer their powers and duties to their vice presidents for the few hours or days when, out of sheer practicality, they cannot actually do presidential things. The typical case involves elective surgery, post-operative management, or other medical procedures. Emergency surgery requires a strictly extra-legal procedure and usually involves a line of military command authority. Section 4 concerns us today. It allows a vice president to assert that a president can't do the work. To make it stick, the vice president needs the signatures of a majority of the cabinet. Congress may, by law, provide for a different body to judge presidential ability. Representative Jeremy Raskin, Democrat from Maryland, introduced a bill to make such provision in October of 2020. It failed. A president can contest such a declaration, but the vice president and her signatories can then double down on it. But if they do, Congress must vote within 24 hours with 2/3 of both chambers concurring to sustain it. The 24-hour clock starts when Congress returns from recess, if it must. Otherwise, it starts with their getting the double down declaration. Never has any vice president had to go through a thing like this. But in the 1997 movie Air Force One, a vice president does gather signatures when she and the cabinet see a president acting under duress. after the drama is all over, the vice president tears up the declaration to the acclaim of everyone present. Because, at least in the movies, when a president comes through as a real hero, even a vice president will lay aside personal ambition out of respect. But this isn't the movies. This is real life. Having said all that, I said on August 8, 2021, that if Vice President Harris tried a thing like this, she would have few friends, and Congress might decide better to have Biden than Harris. 2 weeks later, I revisited the subject. The Afghanistan debacle especially sparked rumors that Harris was quietly trying to gather signatures on an Amendment 25 declaration, but nothing came of it. Representative Madison Cawthorn, the Republican from the 11th District of North Carolina, who, by the way, won't be coming back, must have been frustrated. He circulated a letter to which I've left a link in the description, a letter to the Vice President calling for a Section 4 discussion. I said then that he should knock off such loose talk. I said then and I say today that this situation presents an opportunity for states to reclaim the sovereignty they ceded after the war between the states. And after this midterms, we might have another opportunity to remove the president and vice president from office entirely. Impeachment would not depend on any vice presidential initiative. Now, true, we'd have to get at least 12 additional senators to agree with us, but if certain Democrats who will be up for re-election in 2024 want to die on the hill of keeping those two in office, let's oblige them. Let's oblige them. And in any case, under no circumstances would any friend of liberty want Kamala Harris to be president, acting or actual. Which brings us to who's talking about it today. Before I tell you, I want to shout out to a sponsor who can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is oursilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You're not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected life changes have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities that company provides, either way, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit oursilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. So, who is talking about it today? Well, as a matter of fact, we've been hearing about Amendment 25 from various legacy media sources for about 6 months now. In May, the New York Times alleged that they had Representative Kevin McCarthy of California, who was then, as now, the House Minority Leader, on audio discussing invoking Amendment 25 against then-President Trump. That alone should prompt all freedom-loving Republicans in the House not to let Kevin McCarthy rise to the speakership next term of Congress. Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio would be a far better choice. Now, but I digress. In July, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, pronounced Buttigieg, fielded an embarrassing question from the Daily Mail on this subject. In September of 2019, Buttigieg had told CNN that he considered President Trump unfit for office. Why, the Mail now wanted to know, didn't he apply the same standard to Biden? Buttigieg roared back that he resented the question and regarded it as an insult to him and Biden both. 2 days ago, Merle Matthews, of Writing in the Hill, visited the subject. I have a link in the description to his article, and yes, he's a he. And in fact, he is a recognized constitutional scholar. He's not just any old correspondent over there. I do not have a link to Claire Conway's piece at Microsoft Network on the same subject, because I think she just lifted notes from Matthews' piece without even doing him the courtesy of an attribution. Matthews reviewed all the loose talk about President Trump being unfit for office. For the record, Trump did take a cognitive test, which he passed with flying colors. That didn't stop 350 psychiatrists and other mental health professionals from signing a petition alleging Trump's mental illness. Well, Matthews poured contempt on that talk. He said, and I quote, "Yes, Trump can be unpredictable, moody, temperamental, undisciplined, and occasionally downright crude, according to those who served under him, but I know several people who claim similar characteristics for their bosses." Unquote, Merle Matthews. Well, there you go. Now, when it comes to Biden, Matthews says it's different this time. The concerns are real. Matthews mentions the wandering off and the baffled and confused attitude Biden often displays. Nevertheless, Matthews does not expect Vice President Harris to circulate an Amendment 25 Section 4 declaration to the cabinet. Instead, he expects Democratic Party office holders to insist strenuously that Biden not run in 2024. And if he refuses to listen, they'll threaten him with Amendment 25 Section 4 action if he won't listen. Those office holders will have two problems. One, Matthew mentions, neither party can stop an incumbent president who is still re-eligible from running again. If they want to stop Biden, they'll have to primary him. They had no other recourse. Matthews also calls the Section 4 talk during the Trump administration an exercise in futility that further divided the country. Matthews can't or won't mention the second problem. Now, you've heard me suggest before that Ambassador Susan Rice might be the real officer in charge. Did you think I was kidding? I was only half kidding. She is already a White House official, director of a group calling itself the United States Domestic Policy Council. Her experience as an ambassador to the United Nations gives her foreign policy clout as well. The Hill knows about her quiet but powerful perch at the White House, all of which to suggest that she is indeed the power behind the Oval Office. You know whom she reminds me of? She reminds me of the actress Jane Badler when she played the second in command of an extraterrestrial expeditionary, make that occupying force in the 1980s NBC original television series V. In her last scene with the Supreme Commander, just before she frags him, in fact, she pours contempt on him with these lines, which I quote, "You and your petty, idiotic intrigue, wondering who is in charge. I was in charge! I directed this entire operation while you made pretty speeches. I was the power and you wore the crown." Close quote. Well, if the actress and the ambassador were of the same race, and if they were truly contemporary, then Jane Badler would be the perfect actress to portray Susan Rice. Bear that in mind when I discuss what Susan Rice must be thinking. Any Amendment 25 Section 4 action would remove Susan Rice from her position of power. Vice President Harris would take over, and remember, she and Rice were direct rivals for the vice presidential nomination. I don't think those two get along. So we have every reason to suppose that Susan Rice would not allow a vice presidential Section 4 declaration to stand. She would place a written statement contesting the declaration before the befuddled Biden's eyes, hand him a pen and say, "Sign," and he would sign. Actually, she might not have to do that. She might succeed in making him angry enough to sign without any further prompting. We've seen this president become terrifically angry and spout off even at the American people. Just remember that speech and the speech he gave just the night before last. Or she would tell Harris, all right, I'll let you put this through, and I won't force you to take it to Congress, but only so long as you let me stay on and carry on as I'm doing now, which means you do exactly as I say. And remember, I can, with the stroke of a pen, force you to go to Congress anytime. And she can. Section 4 says so. And Merle Matthews surely knows all this, so why say it? To soothe the people into not repudiating this president in midterms. Don't worry, Matthews is trying to say, we'll remove Biden and get somebody in there who'll do better. And if you believe that, I have a partnership stake in a bridge spanning the East River, which I would like to offer for sale. So don't believe a word of the latest Amendment 25 talk. Likewise, don't accept it as a solution to the basic problem. The only permanent solution to is either impeachment or waiting this president out and replacing him in 2024. It also means telling Ambassador Rice that the Senate will tell the White House whom to nominate, just as the Senate told Richard Nixon whom to nominate, or at least whom not to nominate, to the Supreme Court. Senate confirmation can no longer be automatic, but that's a discussion for another day. Link in the description to the article, to Madison Cawthorn's letter, to Merle Matthews' piece at The Hill, to my Declaration of Truth Twitter account, and to Conservative News and Views. I've also left links to the awesome CNAV Store and to oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. You know already about how to like a video, turn on notifications, and leave a tip. On the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link to my channel and links to a few Amendment 25 videos I've found. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another Declaration of Truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.